Beautiful. And good morning to you. Won't you just say good morning to somebody close by, especially if you don't know who they are? Our topic this morning is consciousness creates reality. And the consciousness we're talking about in that phrase is the creative principle that some call God, or some call the divine mind, or spirit, or whatever you call it. And the topic comes from a statement in our teaching that goes like this. We believe that the manifest universe is the body of God. Now, the phrase the manifest universe is just another way of saying everything. Everything that appears, everything that is substantial, or everything that has form. So everything that you can see, everything that you can touch, everything that you can feel, everything that you can smell, everything that you can walk on. Everything that you can eat, everything that you can relate to, that you can love, that you can make, that you can destroy. Everything that you can grow, everything that you breathe, everything that you can drink, everything that you can dance with, everything that you can hate, and everything that you can discriminate against, everything that you can embrace, everything. Everything that is the appearing world, the physical world, is the body of this creative principle that some call God. It's a poetic idea. It's an idea that helps us remember the first principle of our teaching here at the Center for Spiritual Living, which is oneness. It's an idea that can help us to remember that to care for this earth that we're standing on, and to care for all of the beings that inhabit it, and to care for each other is a way of showing up for what we say we believe. There's a site, workingwithoneness.org, that says it quite beautifully. Life is nested within life. Then it is only fitting that we treat everything that exists as alive and worthy of respect. And then that respect would extend to the entire body of God, to the entire community of beings, and also to everything that we say and think, no exceptions. Our organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, is motivated by such a vision of oneness. So you can see how, on an organizational level, we would value such things as environmental and planetary stewardship, loving kindness toward all beings, even to humans. You could see how we would naturally be for human rights. You know, I don't mind telling you that we're struggling right now as a movement. We're struggling with what are we going to do. You see, our international convention for 2017 is set to take place in Nashville, Tennessee. Oi. And Tennessee is currently going through a big decision-making process deciding whether or not to legalize discrimination. And we're asking ourselves the big question as an organization, can we really go there as an international organization that has the bold vision of a world that works for everyone when the very state that our international convention is going to take place is possibly deciding to legalize discrimination against the very people we say we embrace? You see, it's one thing to speak about how disheartening it is to observe the homophobia and racism that is still active in our world. Because you know it is still active. Right here in our own county. Why, just the other day, I was on my bicycle doing a solo little ride, because a whole group of us are riding from San Francisco to Los Angeles to raise money for AIDS foundations to provide the support that there is no funding for. And thank you very much. Come and visit us in the social hall and see our great team gear. It's really nice. It's got the Global Vision statement on it. Anyway, so I was wearing my piece of gear saying riding towards a world without AIDS or something like that on the back. And do you know, a motorist drove past me and yelled at me with a phrase that is too ugly for me to repeat here. Now, it's one thing to talk about how disheartening that is. But it's an altogether different thing when an organization says it stands for the rights of all, including lesbians and gays and transgender people and so on, and then holds its organizational convention in a state that seems to be on the verge of making it legal to discriminate against the very people it says it honors. So our International Leadership Council is consulting with human rights leaders in Tennessee and watching the news so that we can make a decision in this coming week about what will we do. See, there's the question. What is a person to do? What would you do as a person who embraces the oneness of all creation? As a person who sees the appearing world, the manifest world, as the body of God, what would you do when there is so much at stake? Credibility, relationships, character, potential financial loss for withdrawing. What will you do? And there's more than one way to view it. As one of my colleagues pointed out, she said, well, you know that by going to Nashville, we could possibly be aligning with the very people who are affected by such a decision and show up as a sign of solidarity. And really the truth of it is that no matter which way it goes and no matter what an individual chooses, these are just the hard decisions of life that cannot please everyone. Personally, I will not attend the convention if the state of Tennessee adopts legal discrimination. Because that would affect too many people I love right here in our very own center. It's a personal decision. It's a personal choice, and I won't hold it against anyone else for making a different choice. You may already be aware of this, but I'll tell you anyway. The Centers for Spiritual Living has a very high percentage of women clergy. And also of gay and lesbian and transgender leadership members and friends. And clergy. Possibly because there was a time not so very long ago when very few faith traditions would take them. Now, I don't mean simply tolerate them as a sign of graciousness. No, take them. Love them, embrace them, and honor them as the body of God, as the manifest body of the divine mind. But we did. How could we not? how else could we possibly interpret the first principle of our teaching? Oneness. We are one except for you. You are an abomination. We are one. So it is natural that those who are called to the service of God, but who are refused a place at the table because of their gender identity, the color of their skin, their sexuality, whatever. It is natural that they would make their home in a faith tradition where those labels don't matter, where the only measure of their words and their deeds is the love they leave behind when they're done. Those are the lyrics of Reverend Fred Small's song, The Unity Minister, Everything Possible. It goes like this. Some girls grow up strong and bold. Some boys are quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some follow behind, some go in their own way and time. Some women love women and some men love men. Some raise children and some never do. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything possible for you. So don't be rattled by names, by taunts or games, but seek out Spirit's truth. If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whomever you choose. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself, you can gather friends around, you can choose one special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. Just as I was getting all settled into my position, a colleague challenged me and said, well, you know, Edward, you can find injustice anywhere you look. You just have to look out the window. What are you going to do? So what are you going to do, Edward? Are you going to moderate your participation in the world? Are you going to restrict your movement around the planet until you find a place where everyone behaves just the way you want them to? Oh, good point. I'm doing my best. One issue at a time. Because each one of us is called to that which has heart and meaning. Have you noticed that? That each one of us pays attention to different things in the world? And it has something to do with what is alive in a person? And when we don't pay attention to even that, that's when we live less powerfully than we might. My friend and colleague, Dr. David Alt, he reminded me of a passage that's in A Course in Miracles that says, love brings up everything unlike itself. You know, so I might decide one day I'm going to be a channel for love in this world, and then everything unlike love comes up, you know, as if it's inviting me to see how sincere I am. To really practice love, no matter how justified I may feel about withholding it from certain people. Whew. I was just sharing with the students of the Beyond Limits class that just completed last week about a time when I was a new ministerial student. I was an intern at a Center for Spiritual Living. And the senior minister at the time enrolled all of us to pray together for the prosperity of the center. And so we did. Eager ministerial students and joined our consciousness for the highest good. And we were horrified when it was discovered that somebody was embezzling funds. And we went to the minister and said, how is it possible with such high-minded spiritual beings as us praying for prosperity? It seems the opposite. And she was so good. She said, don't you see how that had to come to light for our prayers to be answered? that had to be revealed. Never thought of it that way. So here's how it might work for you and me. We take on and embrace the idea of oneness. And it's reasonable to expect that someone who embraces the oneness of all creation would live a life that leans towards living in harmony with the planet upon which they walk. It's reasonable to expect such a person who would spend time developing meaningful relationships with other people and other beings that's filled up with grace and compassion and acceptance. It's reasonable to expect such a person would develop mindfulness practices that helps them stay connected with the awe and wonder of being in this world. It's reasonable to expect that such a person would take a stand for equality and inclusion and would advocate for love and forgiveness and would say yes to a bold vision of a world that works for everyone. And it is reasonable that everything unlike that vision would rise up and challenge us with the question, how sincere are you about this oneness thing? Nobody made you choose it. You did it. What you gonna do now? And you know, it doesn't matter what anybody else notices or pays attention to. When it rises up, if we see it, it's for us. If I see it, it's for me. Oh, embrace a world that works for everyone and watch what rises up for you to wrestle with. Watch how you're going to have to wrestle with decisions that won't please everyone. We won't be excused from having to really apply oneness to our lives just because we say we're spiritual. You see, we do have a vision of a world that works for everyone, but that vision doesn't tell us how to get there. It just points to it. There it is, boys and girls. Now what you gonna do? How are you gonna show up? What will you do now that you have embraced the idea that the manifest universe is the body of God? What you gonna do? I believe that when we are truly aligned with oneness, when we truly feel the presence of one life flowing through us, a form of natural guidance rises up in us in which we are intuitively guided and directed to act in ways that promote the well-being and harmony of the whole. I believe that when we are truly centered in oneness, that we intuitively understand what is healthy and what is not healthy, what works and what doesn't work, what is just and what is not just, and what is good, not only for me personally, but on the more complicated level, for all. I believe that when we are truly aligned with oneness, we no longer see ourselves as isolated entities. And our empathy no longer stops with our family, with our gender, with our race or nation, or with those people who are most like us. So how do we align with and harmonize with this oneness? Well, by coming back to it every day, over and over again, using whatever strategy you have at your disposal, prayer, meditation, affirmation, acts of selfless service, everything. Remember that song that Chris just sang? This day I awoke with a passion in my heart, a feeling of longing, a thirst so strong, I want to be better, an opening for God to make me stronger. Oh, if you take on a bold vision for your life, as bold as a world that works for everyone, you will wake up with a passion in your heart. My prayer today is for courage to be what the Holy Spirit intends for me. I want to be better and opening for God to make me stronger. Make me patient when I worry. Make me calm when there is strife. Make me loving when my heart is hard. Make me forgiving when I would be right. Oh, take on a bold vision for your life, as bold as that, and see what it does to you. Here are additional phrases from our global vision to consider taking in. We see a world in which unity and connection is emphasized. We see a world in which spiritual guidance is valued. We see a world where we are called to conscious social action. We see a world where there is peace, harmony, and justice for all. And so I leave you with this question. If you've adopted the idea of oneness, if you have adopted the idea that we are all connected one to another, if you have adopted the idea that this appearing world, the manifest world, is the body of God, what decisions in your life must you make that will show that you are activated by this vision?
You can be anybody that you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose that special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're gone. Some girls grow up strong and bold. Some boys are quiet and kind. Some race on ahead and some follow behind, and some go in their own way and time. Some women love women, some men love men, some raise children and some never do. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything possible for you. Don't be rattled by names, by taunts or games, but seek out spirits true. If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody that you want to be. You can love whomever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose that special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're gone. Will be the love you leave behind when you're gone.
In the infinity of life where we are right now, all is whole and perfect, complete. For the full presence, the living God is here in its full, complete form, as us, through us, by us, and beyond. And so we sink into this awareness that where we are is the right place. This is the right time, and we are the right people. And the rightness, the elegant rightness of this universe is impressing itself upon us, so that we are guided from within to rise up and take a stand and speak from that love, and to celebrate and honor the elegant beauty of what it means to be a point of love in this universe. And with deep gratitude, we let it be so. And so it is.